Over 530,643 shoplifting offences recorded in England and Wales in the year ending March 2025. That's nearly 3 thefts every single minute, ripping apart stores and communities. More than 102,000 incidents in London alone, a staggering 42% surge in just 12 months. Independent shops boarded up, major chains like Tesco, B&M, and Poundland stripped bare in broad daylight. For weeks, the Union Jack has not flown proudly in the wind over bustling high streets. It has been shrouded in the smoke of smashed windows and burning bins. At 8:12 p.m, on a chilling evening in late 2025, London officially fell into a state of kinetic anarchy. Crowds surged through shopping districts, alarms blaring like war horns, as organised gangs turned petty theft into a full-scale rebellion against a political class that has abandoned its duty to protect the people. The scene unfolds like a nightmare scripted by the elite's indifference. Police sirens bleed through the rain-slicked streets of London's shopping heartlands, where security shutters crack under the weight of bricks hurled by masked figures. Bottles arc across the air like mortars, shattering against reinforced doors that were meant to hold, but now buckle like paper. Once thriving hubs for everyday Britons, places like Oxford Street and local high streets, now engulfed in orange heat, from alleyway fires set to distract overwhelmed cops. Witnesses describe the chaos in real-time footage. Groups of coordinated crews, lookouts at entrances scanning for patrols, runners filling trolleys with goods worth thousands, and getaway vans idling with engines roaring. In one viral clip, a Tesco superstore is hit twice in a single day, shelves of food and essentials vanishing in minutes while terrified staff huddle behind counters. "It's not theft anymore," one employee whispers into her phone camera, her voice trembling as glass shatters nearby.
"It's a siege. They're taking everything and no one's coming to help."
The violence escalates block by block. In East London, small protests erupt as frustrated shoppers watch their local Poundland gutted, turning into full-blown clashes with riot shields clashing against improvised barricades. Smoke billows from torched bins, choking the air and forcing residents to barricade their homes. First-hand accounts flood social media. A father shielding his child from flying debris, screaming, "This is our neighbourhood, they're destroying it while the government watches." Another video shows a B&M store's front window exploding inward, shards raining like shrapnel as thieves swarm inside. The targets are clear, major retailers symbolising the system's failure, where prices soar to cover billions in losses, punishing the working class for crimes the elite refuse to stop. Police lines form but waver under the pressure. Officers outnumbered and outmaneuvered by gangs who know the law's weaknesses better than anyone. The sound of alarms mixes with chants of defiance, echoing through districts like Croydon and Manchester, where similar waves hit simultaneously. This isn't random. It's organised combat against a failed state that prioritises globalist agendas over British safety. A man shouts toward the cameras, his voice breaking through the black smoke.
"We've been betrayed by a government that pours billions into everything but our streets. Enough is enough."
This is not just a riot. It is a rebellion against a political class that has abandoned its primary duty to the native population. Do you blame the government's silence for this chaos? Comment "betrayed" below right now. Tell Keir Starmer that his refusal to address the crisis is fueling the fire. Make your voice heard before they censor this video. Across the UK, more than thousands of people have taken to the streets in cities like London, Manchester and Birmingham, all chanting the same line, "Take back our shops, take back our country." The government has not yet answered. Inside Westminster, lights burn late, but words come slowly. The Home Secretary calls the violence contained unrest, downplaying the total collapse unfolding in real time. The opposition calls it a diagnosis of a failed state, but even they hesitate to demand real action. Prime Minister Keir Starmer's delayed response is a joke, vague tweets about unity while high streets burn. Leaked memos reveal overstretched police forces begging for reinforcements, but that approval never came. Dawn feels like an alibi, not a solution, as casualties mount. Dozens injured in clashes, property damage in the millions, and economic impact rippling through already struggling communities. Retailers report billions wiped out, with consumer confidence plummeting as families face higher prices for basics. The silence from Number 10 is deafening. fueling whispers that the elite are happy to let the chaos rage as long as it doesn't touch their gated enclaves. At the edge of the crowd, in a besieged London high street, a young nurse named Sarah holds up her phone, live streaming the chaos. "This is my street," she says quietly, her scrubs stained with soot from helping the injured.
My rent went up 20% this year, and they tell me there is no funding left for hospitals or cops, but there is funding for letting these gangs run wild.
Her video racked up 5 million views in just hours, capturing the exhaustion of ordinary Britons pushed to the brink. If you are watching this now, you have seen the footage too. What you are seeing isn't just protest, it is exhaustion. From years of being ignored, while repeat offenders, phantom criminals who know the system inside out, terrorize shops without consequence. Sarah's story resonates because it's every working class hero's tale, risking everything to expose the betrayal only to face more silence from the top. The first wave hits Oxford Street like a storm. Barricades collapsed instantly under the surge of angry crowds demanding justice. Police deployed tear gas for the first time since the 2011 riots, the acrid clouds turning the air into a battlefield haze. Reporters described the sound as a heartbeat of panic, with shouts and sirens merging into a symphony of disorder. Behind closed doors, the intelligence briefings are grim. MI5's regional desk lists over 50 online channels coordinating real-time crowd movements, encrypted telegram groups shifting by the minute, directing gangs to hit vulnerable stores. An internal line from the Cabinet Office reads, "Containment impossible. Public mood volatile." Leaks suggest foreign influences stirring the pot, but Westminster buries it, terrified of admitting the borders are porous to crime syndicates. As night falls, the escalation is palpable, from isolated thefts to widespread unrest, with police morale crumbling and officers admitting they're outgunned. Across social media, one phrase trends above all: number UK on fire. Within hours, it hit 10 million impressions, eclipsing even the latest royal scandal. Clips of riot officers kneeling in front of crowds go viral with captions like, "Cops surrender while gangs rule Starmer's legacy." At 9:10 p.m, economic traders flagged anomalies. Supply chains disrupted as blockades hit distribution centres in London and beyond. By midnight, retail distribution across the southeast dropped 30%. Hospitals switched to backup generators amid fears of wider blackouts from vandalised infrastructure. And still, Westminster sleeps, ignoring the viral spread that exposes their incompetence. By dawn, the question is no longer who started the fire, but who benefits from the smoke. In the morning briefing, a senior advisor warns,
If we call it terrorism, we criminalise half the country. If we don't, we lose control of the rest.
The Prime Minister says nothing. Cabinet sources say he looks pale, eyes fixed on the screen showing London in flames. Meanwhile, analysts report a 15% drop in consumer confidence, £4.2 billion wiped from retail markets, and a 25% surge in flight bookings from London to safer European destinations. When citizens start fleeing their own country for a weekend of peace, you know the numbers are more than statistics. They are a diagnosis of a failed state. In London's shattered high streets, a crowd of thousands forms around the ruins of a gutted Tesco. The store had been hit repeatedly by unvetted gangs, funded indirectly by a government's failure to enforce laws that cost taxpayers billions in lost revenue. Now it is ash. An elderly veteran named John walks past the debris with a Union Jack over his shoulders.
We fought for this country, and now it's being stolen from under us.
The clip runs on every network by evening. Commentators call it the moment Britain saw its reflection, but this is only the beginning. In part 2, we reveal what happens next and why the government's real response might be worse than the riots themselves. Viewers across the UK scroll through their feeds, silent. Maybe you are one of them right now. If you're watching, hit like so this story reaches beyond the algorithm. Because truth travels only when you push it forward. The Prime Minister is about to speak. But will his words heal or ignite something far worse? At 9:40 p.m, on that fateful night in late 2025, London descends into open disorder. Shoplifting gangs mutate into mobs, smashing windows and torching bins, while police retreat. The Prime Minister steps to the podium hours later. He reads from a sheet of paper titled "Unity in Crisis." His voice is calm, but his words are empty. My government condemns the violence in London and reaffirms our commitment to unity. No mention of the billions drained by unchecked crime. No mention of ignored MI5 warnings about organised gangs. Just the RHYTHM of political tranquilizers designed to lull the public back to sleep. Reporters shout questions.
Why are repeat offenders released the next day? Where's the funding for more police?
He doesn't answer. He simply turns away. The broadcast ends in silence, but outside the noise is still growing. For millions of Britons, this was the moment the illusion broke. They realised the man in charge was not managing the crisis. He was hiding from it, protecting elite interests while the working class suffers. The government pleads poverty when it comes to your rent or your heating bill. But they find billions lost to shoplifting gangs running unchecked in the very stores that are now closing. The mainstream media is terrified to connect these dots. They want you to believe this is just mindless thuggery, not a reaction to systemic betrayal by a regime that prioritizes global migration and soft-on-crime policies over native safety. They want this channel shut down because we talk about the failures they try to hide. The only reason you're seeing this information is because viewers like you share it. Hit that share button right now. This video is your voice against censorship. By nightfall, the numbers become unreal. Over 100 injured in clashes, thousands arrested, but most released. £4.2 billion in damage and losses. Emergency rooms overflow with terrified staff and residents. Police morale drops 40%. Public trust in government plummets to 15%, a record low. The foreign press labels it Britain's collapse into lawlessness. In Brussels, one diplomat says off the record, if London can't control its streets, what hope for the EU? This is not just a UK problem anymore. This is a warning to the entire Western world about what happens when elites abandon borders and enforcement. While pensioners in surrounding boroughs were forced to choose between heating and eating, news outlets circulated the daily cost of retail crime. Billions per year, every year, while the veteran on the street gets nothing. The average high street store loses thousands per month to these phantom gangs, more than the average British worker earns in a week. And when you multiply that across 17,000 projected closures in 2025, over 530,000 offences, and endless days of unchecked theft, you are looking at an economic black hole swallowing trillions while your grandmother freezes. This economic insult is the fuel for the fire. When a government proves it cannot distinguish between a citizen and a repeat offender, it loses the moral authority to command the streets. The chaos was inevitable because the betrayal was absolute soft sentencing, underfunded police, and policies that treat criminals like victims while real victims pay the price. If we look 5 years into the future, the picture is terrifying. If this trajectory continues, if the government continues to prioritise international agendas over national cohesion, London will be the blueprint for the rest of the UK. In 5 years, we will not just see riots, we will see the total balkanisation of Britain. The concept of a shared national identity will vanish, replaced by sectarian tribes, gang-controlled zones versus abandoned neighbourhoods fighting for resources in a shrinking economy. You will live in a country where policing is no longer a public service, but a private luxury for the rich in gated communities, while the working class is left to defend their own streets with whatever they can find. The peace walls in Belfast won't come down. They will go up in Manchester, Birmingham, and Glasgow. Over 100 police officers have now been injured and thousands of arrests made. Multiple appeals for calm have gone heeded. We are sleepwalking into a future where the state exists only to collect taxes, but provides no security, no borders, and no hope. This is not accidental. This is managed decline by elites who view British sovereignty as an obstacle to their globalist dreams. Empty high streets will become ghost towns, jobs vaporised, communities fractured into no-go zones, where fear rules and opportunity dies. The elderly will barricade doors, families will flee to rural hideaways, and the once vibrant UK economy will stutter under the weight of endless crime waves. If Starmer's regime doesn't reverse course, this unrest will evolve into permanent division, with private militias filling the void left by a paralysed police force. The high streets we knew buzzing with life, commerce, and community will be relics, replaced by fortified bunkers for the few who can afford them, and the native population left to freeze in the shadows of a failed state. For decades, a shadow bureaucracy has decided that British identity is an obstacle to global integration. They view your demand for safety as populism and your demand for borders as hate. The events in London are not a tragedy to them. They are a stress test. They are watching to see how much you will tolerate before you break. The Prime Minister's refusal to visit the affected high streets is not cowardice. It is contempt. It is a signal that the provinces do not matter to the metropolitan elite. They are happy to let the stores close as long as the stock market in London remains stable. But they have miscalculated. The sleepless night in London was a fraction of the nightmare lived by the families who have been ignored for years, watching their livelihood stolen while the government funnels resources elsewhere. But beneath the smoke and sirens, there is something else. Something the BBC cameras missed because they were too busy filming the fire. In the back streets of London, strangers who stood on opposite sides hours earlier are now passing blankets through broken windows. A young immigrant worker, still trembling from the chaos, was seen helping an elderly local shop owner lift his fallen sign back into place. No cameras, no slogans, no orders from Westminster, just people doing what governments forgot how to do: care. At a small church near Oxford Street, volunteers light candles for the injured shop workers, residents, even reformed offenders. Each flame, small, stubborn, and equal. A teacher named Emily writes on the wall of a burned store, "From ashes, we rebuild together." Within hours, her message spreads across social feeds, shared more than any riot clip. Yet this hope is fragile, a brief spark in the darkness. Britain is a nation born from reconstruction. Rubble to roof, war to welfare, silence to song. Maybe tonight's fire is not the end of something, but the beginning of a question we have ignored for too long. How much anger does it take to remember empathy? And how much failure does it take to demand a new system? The flames will die out, the buildings will rise again, but the lesson written in the London smoke will remain, that strength isn't control. It's the compassion that survives the chaos. The government has failed. The police are paralysed. But the people, the nurse filming the chaos, the veteran walking through the ash, the teacher writing on the wall, they are still standing. This is the final warning. If Westminster does not wake up to the reality of what happened in London, the next fire will not be contained. It will not be an incident in a store. It will be the end of Britain as a functional state. The window at number 10 remains closed. The Prime Minister remains hidden. But the eyes of the country are wide open. The events were meant to be a weekend of disorder. Instead, they became the beginning of a national reckoning. The fires may be extinguished by morning, but the trust in the institution has turned to ash. So, Britain, what happens next? Is this a riot or a reckoning? Tell us in the comments below. Your voice is the only thing still uncensored. And for those who still believe truth matters, subscribe and turn on the bell, because silence wins only when you stop listening. This channel exists because viewers like you refuse to let them bury the truth. Share this video, make it viral, because they don't want you to see what comes next. Stay tuned for the next update.